All right, we are live. So, uh, so a little backstory. Well, first, welcome, Will. Nice to see you. I don't think we've done
Hey,
a stream or anything for a long time.
good to see you. Good to
Yeah,
be.
you as well. Yeah. So the purpose of today's stream is to do. I think we were already going to do this anyway, but thought it would be fun to stream it. We have this game book called Thousand-Year-Old Vampire by Tim Hutchings. So you can find that book, wherever online. I think he has it on his website, or if you have a nice game shop locally. But we've been playing it. It's meant as a solo game, but we've been playing it. There's like a modification in there for multiple people to play, or two or more. And to do that, we were doing it in letter form. And I think today we'll do like a short form. So we don't have to really write a lot of stuff down except for our beginning notes, character creation. And do you want to say anything about the game itself, or gaming generally, Will?
That yeah, they can like the word game can be potentially misleading, I guess, or limiting, depending on how you take it. That games can be used in ways which might go beyond the conventional definition of the word and have utility and power beyond that. And likewise, the inverse of that is also true in that to regard things that we typically don't label uh, as a game can be powerful and useful as well.
Yeah, that rounds it out pretty nicely. Um, in this game specifically, let's see. It's got beautiful art in here too, by the way. It's like really nicely designed. Uh, well, maybe we shouldn't say too much about it. Basically, I'll read just a tiny bit here. Thousand-Year-Old Vampire is a lonely role-playing game in which you chronicle the unlife of a vampire over the many centuries of their existence, beginning with the loss of mortality and ending with their inevitable destruction. I won't say anything else about it, except essentially. So we're going to go through and do simple character creation, and then we get 5 memories each, and then we can add a sixth memory, which is how our two characters know each other, how they met. And then from there, we just roll dice, take turns rolling dice to get a number that determines a prompt. And then we just start working through the prompts. And did you notice in the appendix there's an entirely different set of prompts?
Yeah, substitutes.
Like it goes from, you can either use one in place of the other ones, or we can go straight into the, yeah, there's a whole bunch of other ones. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, 45. And then alternate starting prompt. Yeah, so there's alternate starting prompt, and then a whole bunch more, like alternate ending prompt, memories, objects, body. Huh. Doom, weird place. So we could, if we feel like it, skip around into those alternate prompts. They go up to number 135. Oh, okay, and the other one only goes up to 80. So if that's something interesting, we can do that. And the rest, yeah, that's all there is. The rest of the book is just some basic stuff. Okay, cool. So I gave a little bit of thought to the starting point in time, and location. I thought it should be something that you and I both have at least some familiarity with, so we don't spend a lot of time looking it up.
Sounds sensible.
So, what might that be? Any ideas?
Um, I think last time round it kind of sprung through me, so maybe it should spring through you this time.
Well, there's only a handful of places that I can think of that you and I both have some personal experience with, as opposed to just intellectual. Not way back in time, as far as I'm aware, but like maybe somewhere around Forest of Dean. Do you know, like, history going back to
Yeah,
some degree?
a little. Yeah,
Hmm. Or
yeah,
somewhere like that, around that well, the Holy Well
yeah.
in Wales.
Yeah.
Was that in Wales? Yeah,
It was. Yeah,
yeah. Because then that puts us in proximity to some cool stuff like Little Dean Jail. So there's, there's some historical stuff going on around there. I don't know the timelines of these things. It doesn't matter if we stick 100% to reality, obviously, or the version of reality that we take to be more real. So, yeah. So why don't we do something around? I guess, what was the history of that holy well? It was, how long had that been going on for?
oh, a long time. I mean, I think pre Christian, and then adopted
Oh,
by Christians, and then um, yeah, spared by Henry VIII during the sacking of all the monasteries. You
right.
get too much shit for it if you trashed it. I think it was too holy.
Right. Saint Winifred, that's right. I'm just seeing, it says, itself known since at least the Roman period, a site of Christian pilgrimage since about 660, dedicated to Saint Winifred, who was beheaded, and then the head went back on at the well. And then it said 18th century, it became a lead mining and cotton milling industries, water supply from the mountains. Anything else? So if we get into semi-modern times, we got plenty of data. Um, let's see, Holywell. Holywell. Let's start in that little town called Holywell, right there, uh, somewhere around there. So what would those, like, what, in the year 1000 or something like that?
Cool.
What would have been going on at that time?
Yeah. I think we have to let our imaginations flesh that out. The level of ignorance is pretty high there.
The level of ignorance was pretty high there.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be some medieval type stuff going on.
Uh-huh. But it is a Christian pilgrimage site. Medieval type
Yeah,
stuff going on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll say in the year 1000 at Holywell, Wales. And was there fights, among the different peoples of
oh
Britain?
yeah, like all along, because it's relatively close to the border between England and Wales, so that was always been moving and always been fought over.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So let's just jump in then with so character creation. So start by imagining a person in the distant past. A Roman emperor, Mesopotamian midwife, a French knight. Let me look something up for my character. If you want to start thinking of yours as well, we can create them alongside each other. Uh, let's see if there's. Let's see if I'm going back far enough here. No, it can't be a Templar knight that started in around 1119. Oh, let's see then. Check on other things.
Or we could take it forward, make it around the year 1100, and then you're kind of into the Crusades.
Well, we can do. we might get there. So that's what's cool. Why don't we leave where we leave it at 1,000, and I will start as a Viking,
Cool.
Viking like Jarl or something like that. Like not the king. Interestingly, right around that time, so we're at the timeline where 1013 was Swine Forkbeard becomes the first Viking king of England. So that's going on, obviously, rampaging around. And they're semi-Christianized at that point as well. Maybe more Christianized than I'm thinking. But yeah, so Viking Jarl of that region of Wales, Christianized. But with sympathy for the pagans as well. Okay. Let's see. What about you?
Yeah. So I'm thinking Benedictine monk, something like that.
Nice. This is going to be interesting.
Maybe general monk. I'm not sure when the Benedictines started.
Timeline, let's see. Oh, there's a Christian history timeline. That's pretty huge. Medieval monastery. Oh, yeah. So the Benedictines were around. It says they were founded. The Saint Benedict of Nursia, founder of Benedictine, he was in 480 to 543.
Okay, so it's already old school by then. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, they wake up at 3:10 a.m. into bed at 8 p.m. in the winter, 9 in the summer. Huh. Interesting. Okay. So you're a Benedictine monk, and I'm a Christianized Viking Jarl.
Cool.
We'll have to give a name. I'm going to take a quick look for names. Okay, I'll be Knut Thorson. So let's see. I am Knut Thorson, son of Swain, born outside Holywell, Wales. To a Viking father and Christian mother. British Christian mother. Okay. Mother, and I guess I was born in, like, I'll say 970. And I am a Viking Jarl in charge of Wales.
Yeah, so I'll be Dustin, abandoned as a child and found by the monks. They needed somebody to kind of do some of the menial stuff and tidy up prayer books and such like. So took me on for that purpose. So I managed to survive and scrape a few scraps from the monk's kitchen in exchange for these small services I provided, and inevitably got indoctrinated and signed up when I was old enough to become part of the order.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Yeah, I didn't really give much backstory, but it's just grew up, like I said, Viking father and British Christian mother. I showed some proficiency at battle and kind of enjoyment of it, and then sort of worked my way up through various challenges and political intrigue to take over and run Wales. And I decided to run it from Holywell, mainly because there's the water there. It's near where I was born. It's the Christian pilgrimage site, so we have a lot of coming and going. Easy to monitor the rest of the place from there, and a lot of goods and different things coming and going to that specific spot. So we have memory 1, experience 1, which is kind of like that first thing, and what each memory can have 3 experiences, right?
Yeah.
Up to 3. Yeah. We have 5 memories and 3 experiences. We'll have 6 because of the meeting. Okay, now we each create at least 3 mortals and add them to the record sheet. The mortals have a relationship with their vampire relatives, friends, lovers, enemies, mentors, debtors, or anything else appropriate for the time and place. Describe each character in a few words. The characters should be important, but may not be around for long. Yeah, so we'll each create 3 mortals. You want to go back and forth and just kind of see what pops out, like kind of PLS style?
Cool.
Okay, I'll hand it over to, I guess, to me, because you just went with your creation. So, mortal number 1. Let's see. Mortal number 1 is a nun. A nun of Holywell. At the time, she presides over the specific well there at St. Winifred's. Manages, the pilgrims coming and going, and she actually gives me information. She knows that she knows that I've been Christianized, and that I keep the more pagan, non-Christian Vikings at bay, and that we do seek for peace in the British Isles. And yeah, so she's the nun who's working there at essentially attending to the pilgrims and keeping everything moving and keeping the water clean and whatnot.
So yeah, Brother Jeffrey. He was kind of the kindly figure of my growing up. He was like the caretaker of the kind of the abbey, the handyman monk, and he was the only one who really showed me any kindness.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, mortal number 2. Okay, mortal number 2 will be my second in command. Check out. We'll call him Hakon. Hakon the Brave. My second in command, and we've known each other since childhood. He's about the same age as me. We grew up around that area. We used to battle together. Different various battles around Wales, and he's been there with me since the beginning. So I can trust him as much as I trust myself. Fellow Viking Christian.
Well, I guess it's the abbot. He's kind of a severe guy, quite distant, doesn't pay me much heed in my lowly position, but like somehow he's, for me, like the symbol of what it is to be a monk and how close to God the path can take you. So there's a kind of tension between like admiration for him, but also a kind of sense of distance and unobtainability.
Okay, beautiful. And my third mortal will be let's see. It will be my wife. And let's see. Check some names here. Ingrid Thorson, and also known her since childhood. She grew up a Viking and then became Christian when she married me. So grew up as among the pagans, the non-Christianized section of the Vikings, and she kind of reluctantly converted to Christianity when we got married. Okay. And for your third?
There's a girl from the village. Bess.
Bess.
Mm-hmm. Who she'd occasionally come by the monastery. although there's like a relative separateness between the life of the monastery and the life of the village, there's there's a need for interaction there and interdependency. But yeah, she's kind of similar age to me, grew up at a similar time, and there was kind of like an interest in her as part of the outside world, which I didn't really have much to do with. But she was kind of interested in the weirdness of the monastery. So there's a kind of an interest, but also um, caution. It's the closest thing to what I could call a friend.
Uh-huh. Great. These are cool. Okay, so now we need to just give 3 skills fitting for their lot in life and 3 resources they obtained while still mortal. So why don't we go ahead and then resources can be almost anything, big or small. Obsidian, from an obsidian knife up to a fleet of warships. So why don't we just each write down our 3 skills and then 3 resources, and then we can share.
Cool.
So skill. Actually, let's create the skills and then share those, and then resources share those, so we don't leave so much dead air.
Sure, yeah.
I almost got my 3rd. If you have your 3 skills, go ahead and say them.
Just thinking on the 3rd.
Same.
Cool. So Dustin, my 3 skills: stealth. So I've always had to creep around while I was doing my chores to avoid disturbing the monks because of fear of chastisement by them for disturbing their prayer. So I am capable of being stealthy, finding food and foraging. So whilst they gave me, the staple gruel, as a growing lad, it was necessary to kind of develop the skills for finding scraps to supplement that. And then the 3rd one is like kind of a vigilance and awareness. So I can listen to the environment and be aware of what's going on around me more than the average.
Very cool. I have battle with close combat with an axe and like a dagger, and then negotiation / intrigue, and the 3rd one, hunting. So hunting because of just providing sustenance, and it's a very necessary skill at that point. Although though a lot of my food is now provided by the other Vikings that are underneath my command. But I always did enjoy hunting and used to hunt with Hakon, my second. And then negotiation is mainly how I ended up as the Jarl of Wales. It was partially battle, but mostly intimidation, intrigue, and negotiation that made my way up there. Okay, resources. Looking up a thing here.
So yeah, as a monk, we don't generally have much, like in the way of possessions.
Mhm.
Much of what might be described as resources are kind of the communal stuff. Um, but the little that we are kind of permitted to kind of call our own includes a little bit of parchment with the kind of prayers of the order on, um, which we're given, when you're inducted. Of course, they're all committed to memory, but there's kind of a sentimental attachment to the parchment. Then rosary beads for counting the number of iterations of prayer that we're through, and walking staff. Got a stout staff for when going out and about, because it's still not entirely safe in these areas, and the status of monk doesn't guarantee you safe passage necessarily. So always wise to have some sturdy bit of wood with you.
Yeah, that's great. My resources, number one is a Norwegian fjord. It's a type war horse, uh, 13 to 14 hands high with a draft-like build. We can use it to pull a cart, but it also is great to use for battle. Then the second one is a Bible from Belle, who's the nun of Holywell. She gave that to me when I got married to Ingrid, and kind of as a symbol of the faith that she sees and wants to believe is solid in me. And then the third resource, let's see. What do you call it? That type of house? Let's see. Oh yeah, like a longhouse. So a pretty decent size longhouse on a piece of land outside of just in the mountains, just above where Holywell is. let's call it 100 acres. Do they say acres in England, or is it hectares
I think acres is more likely. Yeah.
in England? Yeah, yeah. The rest of yeah, cool. Long house and 100 acres with livestock and uh, and farming going on, as much as could be expected in that climate and in the mountains. So some geese and chickens and sheep, of course, sheep, and a little bit of crops. Okay, so the next little piece that we do is we create three experiences, and each experience combines any two of the things. So like combines. Let's see here. Yeah, so combines a character, like one of the characters, with a resource, for example. So one of mine would be the during my wedding to Ingrid, Belle surprisingly showed up. Kind of had to push her way through my guards, and then I saw her and welcomed her in, and she came with this beautiful, ornate, um, gold filigree and jeweled Bible, which are not cheap at that time. To gift that to us for the wedding, so that's um, an experience for. So there's going to be memory 2, 3, and 4, and it will add those experiences to it.
So yeah, um, sneaking out of the monastery, uh, meeting Bess. Like both of us were hungry, so we were out scavenging around through the village, finding the odd scrap of food together. And when each of us found something, we'd share it with the other.
Okay, beautiful. Let's see the second one. The horse, the Norwegian war horse, this beautiful specimen that I've been riding for a few years now, was given to me by Hakon's father after a battle in which he lost two of his other sons, so his other two brothers, and then I managed to get in there and save Hakon. After which his father gifted me at that time, young warhorse. So, and for people watching, thanks for bearing with us. As soon as we're creating the ground, we're creating the foundation, essentially identifying the world and all the moving parts of it. After which, then we'll get into the flow of the game. So this, and then future incarnations of this, assuming we don't finish today, we'll have, let's say, hopefully this part's entertaining too, but it will have the, let's say, more action. But I do want to make a note. This process that we're undergoing, it's similar. People are listening aren't going to know what PLS or any of this stuff is, but let's say if we could boil that down, the process that we're doing right now is like world creation in a certain sense, or world identification. It's hard to say if it already exists somewhere, or whether or not I don't think we're inventing it, because it doesn't feel like that. But you could use this for storytelling. You could use this for writing. You could use this for imagining, like how your business or your brand might be presented out into the world. This is sort of a deep and holistic way of I don't know how to describe what, but laying a foundation of something. You could even do it to reinvent yourself on some level, to understand your own life, or also to approximate or to look into any other type of character or world you want to experience. Do you have any words on that, Will?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it comes across, but hopefully it does, in that when you allow these kind of pieces of data to emerge, it it kind of flows quite easily, and there's kind of a chain of elaboration which unfolds. And when you do it kind of deliberately in a framework as we are at the moment, it's an opportunity to recognize that actually this is something that we're doing all the time, um, outside of a framework. And because it's outside of a framework, we kind of mistake it for what we call reality or the world or existence. But the process is not a different one. It may be different in degree, but not necessarily different in kind. So we're always telling these kind of stories about the character that we identify as ourselves. And to touch on what kind of said about games earlier, like the conscious process of doing this can be illuminating and can bring greater consciousness to the generally unconscious process of doing it that we do all the time in our everyday lives.
Yeah, beautiful elaboration. And even similar to the way this game flows, in that you have a number of memories, and the memories include 3 experiences, and at some point you start striking out experiences or memories. You actually are forgetting things, and from my own life, even just one example that's illuminating is being a part of that TV show where we went for 16 days to so many different places and so many different experiences stacked on top of each other every day. And then when I watched the videos, the prepared, edited episodes of the show, there was like whole days that I forgot. If someone said, "Oh, where did you guys go?" and I skipped huge chunks of it, and that's just one little tiny piece out of 45 years. So we are kind of recomposing our character all the time out of recent little bits of data, and then some let's say particularly anchoring long-term memories that are kind of shifting a little bit at a time as we go.
Yeah, there's some interesting research that suggests that the act of recalling a memory is effectively the rewriting of that memory as well. And this, I think, is interesting, particularly when you think about, for example, the scene from what's the Jude Law character called in with the Mariah Carey story?
Oh, the Shania Twain story.
Yeah, that's it, of course.
And I Heart Huckabees,
Yeah.
Jude Law was, I forget the character name, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so he has a story, which is his go-to story, which he tells at every opportunity, and it becomes like a major part of his personality. But in the retelling of it, there's something that occurs every time he retells it. There's something that evolves and changes for him because he gets to the point where the retelling of it becomes unbearable.
Yeah.
So identified by himself and others with this story that he's telling about himself. So yeah, it's interesting that there's also some sort of neuroscience research that suggests that the act of retelling a story or recounting a memory changes that memory and kind of re-records it. So that's kind of interesting for 2 reasons. Because one, it's it's something to be aware of. That it's not a passive process, not a one-way thing that happens when you recall stuff. It's also an act of creation. And the second part is also an aspect of the fact it is an act of creation. So actually, we're constantly reinventing the character that we call ourselves. And to notice that and to realize that presents a huge opportunity to transcend the way that you've told stories about yourself in the past.
To transcend the historic character or historic personality. Yeah. And if you thought of yourself, like I realized, I think last year, somewhere deep down, that I kind of always thought of myself as a loser. You know what I mean? I had that like tag, and it was attached to everything, but I wasn't aware of it because it was ubiquitous.
Mm.
And then something made me aware, and I was like, oh man, it was like the way I was interpreting events, like, oh no, I've never really accomplished anything, it's all kind of a fluke, you know. And I'm like doing the same business for like 20 or no for 13 years, you know. And I'm like, wow, hope it keeps going, you know. Like like I caught it wind of it then, and I was like, okay, there's so much evidence to the contrary, but like, why even have that tag attached? It got attached somewhere back there. But then in the aware creation of or presentation, at least of the personality, you can kind of pull those tags off and adjust, and you know.
Yeah. Yeah. The double-edged sword. There's an opportunity and also a risk every time you make statements about the entity that you call yourself.
Yeah, yeah, you're putting something out there. You're making a promise in a certain sense. Uh, Even going out and being super happy and kind to people, and then if that's not available to you, or you you aren't, you know, after say like a year of that, that even has consequences. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
However people perceive you, then over time, you know. There's something called the paradox of change. Like when you want to actually make a change, if you wanted to become a YouTube star and you have to be kind of boisterous and or whatever it is, so when you first start practicing doing something new or doing something in a new way, you will receive external resistance from other people, and it'll often be like, "That's so fake, dude," you know, or something like this. You know, they'll because you're not living up to the historic expectations. So even if it's like the classic example is like people quitting heroin or alcohol, and then the alcohol or heroin junkie friends are like, "Oh, you fucking sell out," you know, or whatever. They drag them right back in. So you first meet with external resistance, and then if you lean into the external resistance and just keep going in the face of it, knowing that that's always going to happen, not let it become internal resistance. Uh, then after a while, the people will just accept that new you. Like it'll just become normalized, and they will accept it. Like it can't go on forever. You know what I mean? I remember 20 years ago, it used to not be like that. Like no, it'll be a very short time. You know, maybe a couple months.
Yeah, and that resistance it comes from their own inertia, because when when you if you make changes in the self that you present to others, then it's necessitating change in the self that they present, which is,
Right.
if they're not willing or able to do that, it always work even if they are willing and able. So you're creating work for them. So yeah, it's not something to be surprised by, something to be
Yeah.
expected, right?
To be expected and almost celebrated in a way, because it's like proof that you've started something. Proof of that what you're doing is having some effect. You know.
Mhm.
Yeah, it can be a beautiful thing. Okay, there's a nice little side note. Somebody might take that and run with it. Huh? That's cool. All right, so we got we each did one experience, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'll do my second one. Um, let's see. So the battle axe. Um, also, Bell gave me the Bible. No, we did do two of them because Bell gave me the Bible, and then I did the horse too.
oh, so it's me.
Yeah, so Hakon's. I'll say, I saved Hakon. Saved by me. Yeah, so go ahead, and I'll finish writing mine down.
Yeah, so the abbot had tasked me with a kind of few cursory words with cleaning the floor of the chapel. So I took the mop and the scrubbing brush and had begun, but it was slow work because this scrubbing brush was like a knackered old thing that had been around since before my birth. So Brother Jeffrey walked through a couple of times as I was making slow progress with this huge expanse of floor and this crappy little brush. And on the third time through, as I was face down close to the floor scrubbing away, I heard the clatter of something as he walked past, and I turned and there was a nice newly made scrubbing brush that he'd surreptitiously dropped on his way past so the abbot wouldn't notice. But I was grateful to him. It meant I could finish the floor more quickly.
Oh, that's beautiful. I know. I could feel what that difference is. You know, I can feel the difference between like just sitting there, like, ugh, and you get this new thing that's like, wow. I mean, and it's like the reward is equal to the amount of effort that you put in with the old shitty one, right?
Right.
Like the good one would mean nothing if you hadn't ever used the shitty one. It would still
Right.
be nice, but yeah. Okay, and then the fourth one here was that when Ingrid and I got married, um, it was her Viking father who gave us the longhouse and the land.
Cool. Nice. It's
Yeah.
interesting, isn't it, how these things now emerge more easily because the world in which they're emerging is more clear with each thing that emerges.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. I can see kind of the land and everything.
So yeah, there's the third memory for
Technically, the fourth memory now.
yeah, fourth, including the origin memory. Yeah. So yeah, so this is the moment of transition for me when I was invested by the abbot, and rather than being part of this second order of service where I was serving the monks who were serving God, I had become elevated. I was closer to God because I was now part of their ranks. And yeah, another layer of complexity in my relationship with the abbot, in that I was grateful to him for making me part of his organization, but still resentful for all the hardships he'd given me.
Okay, and that did that tie in with one of the items or no resources?
The resources, yeah. Okay. I guess that is kind of like that sense of alertness, that sense of awareness in the process. You know, when you have some kind of initiatory experience, there's that broadening of awareness. Speak.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Okay, so then we will need. Okay, then we will need. Let's see. We got this extra memory. So finally, we create an immortal. This is the creature that gifted or cursed the vampire with unlife. So then we have a mark and an experience. So we create the immortal, the mark, and the experience for the fifth memory. So go ahead. Note of the immortal. thing. What is like a lesser? Oh, Lord. Yeah, Lord. Okay. So my immortal is Lord Richard of Wales, and once when I was just out scouting for land to kind of expand and settle and or turn into farming for the fellow Vikings, we came across a piece of land that seemed tended but semi-abandoned, and it turns out Lord Richard of Wales was a hermit and had been living there, kept his own little garden and stuff going, but kind of let the land, the huge piece of land that was his inheritance, start to go fallow. And so as I started kind of declaring the land, and taking pieces of it into the kingdom for the Viking king, and for myself as Jarl of the region of Wales. At some point, then, when I was scouting alone and got closer, I found a small cabin, very nicely built, logs and everything upkept, like extremely pristinely. So it stood out among the rest of the fallow property. And as I got close, I saw some skulls and different things hanging around, and it reminded me of some of the more like the more pagan among the Vikings. And I thought at first that's what I was kind of looking at, but it was pretty grim. And then as I got closer, I heard this kind of otherworldly growling, and thought it to be some kind of animal, even though it had the sense that it was more than that. And then as I approached and stepped into the darkness of the hut, I felt like a spear pierce me right in the heart, and witnessed my own death. And there was some kind of, I can't say moment, it was timeless, but like a vanishing of my awareness, conscious awareness and aliveness in this excruciating pain. And then it was gone. Like I said, it was timeless and yet eternal, this moment between life and then this vampire afterlife. And I came back to, and then Richard was sitting there laughing, and he said, well, it's far better to have you to have one like you remain alive than just to be fed on by me. There are plenty of others of your kin who I have fed upon, who I will continue to feed upon. But for now, I will send you back out into the world, if not for any better reason than to entertain myself after these long and tedious and boring years as a hermit here.
Nice.
So I have a mark, like a hole that you can see right into the heart, which is not beating. So I keep that covered with some armor. Stuff a egg in there. No.
Deliciously macabre. Nice. So yeah. So one of my tasks once I became a monk was kind of conducting people through the ritual of visiting the well. So it would be like a rotated task between some of the monks, because it was it's a pretty ritualistic process. There's a building over the top, a stone built structure which encloses kind of the cistern where the the holy water is stored, and that's built, for the pilgrims to come and ritually immerse themselves in, to be healed and cleansed, and to hopefully cure what ails them. And so there's always a steady stream of pilgrims, and the whole existence of the abbey and the village surrounding it really is there to serve this process. So we take turns to kind of be involved with administering the ritual. There's always a queue of the pilgrims outside the building, and they're taken in one at a time to receive the waters. And so there's generally there's a monk outside kind of keeping order in the queue, and then there's the monk who conducts kind of the immersion, and then there's kind of like the aftercare part in the adjoining building. So it involves several of the order at any one time. And anyhow, so today it's my turn to be the immersing monk. So I'm there on my own in the chamber with the cistern of the holy water. And sometimes people have trouble getting in and out depending on what's wrong with them and stuff. So I have to adapt to help them with what they need to do to get in and immersed and out of the water again. So it's generally you get pretty wet. So it's been a steady stream of people so far. And then I look up and the next pilgrim's ready to come in. But it's a weird vibe to this guy. He's kind of got it's almost like a strange smell, kind of cadaverous looking pallor, and there's obviously something very wrong with him. Clearly needs to be here. I go to help him into the room. I take his hand. It's cold. It's like ice cold. It's weird, and like kind of shiver as I take his hand. But a lot of maybe it's just part of his ailment. He's got bad circulation or something, maybe. But he's got deep set eyes, like hollow, kind of dark rings around them. Anyway, so I take him by the hand and I guide him down the steps into the water. And he's staring at me in this weird way the whole time. And his eyes keep moving like down to my neck. This is kind of odd. Anyway, I have to take him all the way down into the cistern, so we're both stood in the cistern. And I go to kind of support his head and lean him back into the water. And as he does, suddenly he's strong. I thought he was weak. And he turns and he grabs me and he pulls me under the water too. And he's really strong. He's like unnaturally strong. And I call out a shout, but it's just bubbles. And then I'm inhaling water, and he's holding me down. I can see his face above me. He comes in closer, and then I feel his mouth on my neck. And I'm struggling, but he's too strong for me. I try to breathe, but I'm just breathing water. And eventually, there's no more bubbles come out. And I just feel him sucking the blood from my neck. And then I lose the ability to struggle anymore. I can still see him, still feel him on me. And it seems to go on forever. I think, this is it. And then there's kind of a gap. And the next thing I know, I'm like being pulled back out of the water, and the water's pouring off me. And now it's him holding me, and he's grinning at me, but not a good grin, like a fucked up grin. And I open my mouth to speak, and it just like the water just squirts out instead of air. I can't speak. It's like, and I feel like something's different. I've got after a couple of seconds, I realize there's no heartbeat anymore. And he says something in my ear. And I know it's not a language that I know, but I still understand what he says. It's like, Now you're one of us. And he walks up out of the cistern and out of the door, and I'm just left stood there. And I turn and I see my face in the glass of the window, and my lips are blue. And my lips are blue the rest of my existence. And that's the mark.
Nice. I'm gonna make note of my mark. It's pretty obvious. Okay. Mark. Hole. Chest. It's weird, as you talked about it, and as I mentioned it too, when I mentioned the heart not beating, I became like really aware of my heart beating, like
Just
I
make
kind of
sure
had a,
it's fiction. Yeah. Or is it? Oh, losing
I
track.
don't know. I mean, I had a sense of what it would be like to not have the heartbeat, and then my mind was like, okay, so this must be partly why they have to drink blood, because they have to keep like, there's some other force now that's circulating or moving it around, but it's not the same as this self-regulated system.
Mm. Yeah.
Like they don't have the need necessarily for food anymore, but they do have the need for blood, like to keep them animated, let's say.
Yeah. Surprisingly, like visceral when you get into it.
Mm-hmm.
It changes the state of the body you're in right now in response to the descriptions you're verbalizing of the world you're inhabiting for that time.
Yeah. So now I think we finished. Oh no, we should create one more. I guess we do one more. We can either create one more memory, or we can leave it at 5 and then find a place on each of our memories to fit in how we met.
Mm-hmm.
I think let's do a 6th memory, so we kind of adapt it. Experience 1, which would be how we met. I mean, we're right in the same town. You want to say we met after becoming vampires, I guess.
That makes sense. Recognition of one another as being of the same ilk somehow.
So I guess I could be at the Holy Well, visiting with Belle. Asking about comings and goings, if there's anything I should be aware of. And then I noticed this guy helping people in and out of the well with blue lips. And I asked her, "What's going on with that guy?" She said, "Oh, he's just one of the young monks. He used to be kind of a street, hobo type. What would they have called it back then? Not hobo. What's that?
An urchin, maybe.
Yes, I was going to say that. Yeah, an urchin, a street urchin. Yeah, and he's just, and what's with his blue lips? And she's like, I don't know. He did come close to drowning. He told me once in the well, but he was brought back to life by the miraculous waters, and so ever since then he's had these blue lips. And I kind of was like, oh, this is interesting. Like what really happened here? So then I finally watched for a while, and then went and met up with you outside the monastery on your way back to the monastery from the Holy Well. So when you were by yourself. Do you want to elaborate anything else about that meeting?
Yeah. So there's I noticed the local jarl approaching on my way back from the well to the monastery shortly after the my experience of conversion, shall we call it. And part of my kind of awareness or alertness to the environment changed when when that conversion occurred, because as the immortal who made me one of us left, I realized I could tell he was of my ilk and I was of his ilk. And I realized that I had this alertness and this awareness of when another one of my kind was nearby. And I hadn't felt it since that stranger had left until this day. And I looked and there's something up with this Jarl, something that others don't notice, but because I am the same in some way, I do. And I thought perhaps there can be some benefit to both of us, even though we come from such disparate walks of life, in being aware of one another as another of our kind.
Right, and so we have a brief discussion and kind of confirm what we both suspect to be the case, and then offer to keep each other's secrets, and then to see what we can come up with on future meetings. Although it's mostly in private because it's somewhat odd that a Jarl would be spending any time with a lowly monk.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we can come up with cover stories, some around some kind of prayer,
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's always a good reason to be coming to the monastery, but it would be odd that I wouldn't be interacting like with the abbot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we can come up with stuff. So that's cool. Okay, so there's the whole layout of the land. I feel like just like in the other one we were doing privately in the letters, I feel like there's really a wholeness to it. I had a question about that. When you're writing letters, do you find yourself going back and reading the previous ones when you're about to do the next one, or is it all just retained in memory?
Yeah, I generally do. I'll read the prompt, and then there'll be something emerges, and then I'll read the previous one, and then kind of the something that emerges extends tendrils that then connect somehow.
Cool. Yeah. I usually look back at least the most recent two, one of mine and one of yours, or sometimes I've gone back and read all of them again. But generally have to look a little bit. Okay, so yeah, let's just use the standard prompts for now. If we come across something, then we can go ahead and leap to one of the other prompts if we want at any point. So we start. Oh, we start at prompt 1 on the next page. Oh, and then subtract the die 6 from die 10 and move that many prompts.
Yeah, so I think
we start counting. So we roll first, huh? Yeah. Okay. So roll a d10. I got 8, and d2. Or d6. I got 2, so I have a 6 for prompt number 6 for me.
So shall I read it, and then you can?
Yeah, I suppose. And let me see the suggestions for group play real quick. So journaling takes days or weeks, but quick games take a few hours. So let's do it as a quick game. No one's out writing out long journal entries. Responses kept brief. Players keep attention focused on whoever's taking a turn. Quick play brevity is key. So we honor the intention of one sentence experiences by describing prompt reactions in just a few lines.
Cool. Brevity.
Yeah, and then if there is a leap in timeline, then the other one just catches up, like what we've been doing with the letters. So And if the prompt's already been encountered, we just go to the second entry in the prompt, and then if yeah, it's unlikely we'll get the same one 3 times. If we do, we'll just go to a different prompt in the other section. Cool. All right, so prompt number 8.
6, was it not?
Oh yeah, number 6. Yeah, you're right.
So I'll read it. A mortal character begins serving you. Who are they? Why are they drawn to you? Who's the new mortal character?
So there's a young Christian knight who just became knighted, but he's very interested in the Viking way of battle and the way of living, way of farming, everything. And he's also interested in the old gods. And so he starts just following me around. And at first I'm like, what do you want? We have no need to recruit any of your kin. We have plenty of Viking warriors, and there's peace right now, at least temporarily. Seeing as how England has the Viking king, we have no need of you. And he's just insisting, no, please tell me about the old ways. Tell me where you came from. Tell me about your father. Tell me about all this. I said, well, what do I get from this? And he swears his fealty to me, even as opposed to the king, and kind of toys with this idea that maybe I should try to be king sometime of all of England. So mortal number 4. His name is Astaire, the young knight.
Cool. Yeah. I got 7 on a D10 and a 4 on a D6. So that's 3. So I print 3.
Number 3?
Hmm.
Okay. And prompt number 3. A loved one discovers your condition and works to help you. Create a resource which represents their assistance. Create a mortal character if none are available.
Yeah. So this sprung fully formed. So it's Bess, clearly. Notices my blue lips and keeps asking what's with the blue lips? Where did this come from? And she's concerned. She's worried for me. Well, I don't want to let her know. I don't want her to become aware of my undeadness, for her own safety, for my safety, and for I don't want her the way she sees me and thinks of me to change. So I brush her off. But I go out to scavenge as I used to in the old days, but now I'm scavenging for blood. And catch a rabbit, and I'm feeding on this rabbit and draining it of blood, and suddenly my awareness is tweaked, and I turn and I notice, and I can see that Bess is watching from the corner of one of the village houses in horror at what I'm doing. So I have to tell her. And so she is pretty disturbed by it, but still, for the sake of our old friendship and closeness, decides that she wants to stand by me and help me, despite her disgust at my nature. And though I am ashamed by her knowledge of what I've become, I realize that it's probably a useful thing to have her as an ally. So she gives me a net in which to catch animals, because she doesn't want me to feed on humans, not just because of her moral qualms about it, but also because she fears that I'd be more likely to be found out if I did. So she gives me this net to catch more mammals in, hoping that I'll be satiated with them.
It's very sweet of her. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a similar experience as doing the letters, but I like both. The letters are kind of interesting because I might spend like an hour on one of them,
Yeah.
or I don't know how long, but I write it out by hand, and then when I'm typing it to you, I kind of go through it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. Okay. So we got 7 and 4. So we add. I should make a note of. Oh, 0, yeah. So it was number 6, and then so I got 3 more plus 3 is number 9.
Number 9, you develop a system for feeding. What is it? What happens to those who die? Create this skill which reflects this.
So since there are still occasional skirmishes and battles going on, I direct some of my the lesser of my soldiers to bring me anyone who's been recently killed as fast as they can, and I find that I can feed on someone up to a day or two. If it's colder outside, then maybe another day. So they're bringing people who have recently died to me, and I say that it's for consecration and for proper burial, and then I make a site out in the outside of the land, but in the mountains where I can dispose of the bodies, and then give it kind of the look of a Christian burial ground. But nearby, I'm just dumping them all into the same cave that appears relatively endless and that no one would really ever go down into. Sort of building this building this Christian graveyard. I do bury some of them, but as far as how many of these I'm going through. So that's the system of feeding, and the skill is, what would be the skill here? Skill. I guess it would be like like presentation, like because I've created this whole uh, like presentation / storytelling, something like this. Like deception, I suppose, but
Cool. So 7 on the D10, 6 on the D6. So that's looking to 4.
oh, and we have to remember to put our lodge our experiences into specific memories.
Yeah.
What was the one? Yeah, system of feeding. So you just look where it might fit, you know. Um, okay. So you, yeah, there we go. Your first prompt was 3. Your second, what did you roll then?
So I got 7 and a 6, so it's 1. So that takes me to prompt 4.
Okay. Prompt number 4. Oh, always sad when I lose you. You're exposed and flee to a neighboring region. Lose any stationary resources. Check a skill. So don't cross it out, but check a skill. A mortal flees with you. What new name do you adopt among these strangers?
Hmm. So yeah, I'm just, despite Bess's best intentions with giving me this net, I hunger for the blood of my former fellow man. You know, like the small mammals thing is like, yeah, barely touches the sides. It's like not satisfying. I can survive just about, but there's an internal urge that I'm finally overcome by, and there's so many opportunities in the monastery with my brother monks in prayer, and they're lost in their contemplation, and they're just sitting ducks. And I pass them time after time and resist, but at last I can't anymore. So uh, I sink my teeth into the neck of one of my fellow monks as he's kneeling at prayer, and pin him. And despite his struggles that gradually weaken, I manage to drain him of his blood. But as I rise from his empty vessel, another of the brother monks walks past his cell and sees me, and his eyes widen in horror, and I know I must leave. I burst out of the room, shoving him to one side, and flee. And as I run out of the monastery building, Bess is there in the field, sees me running, and she realizes what must have happened. And she runs with me, and I try to dissuade her. I say, "Stay here. Nobody knows anything to do with me." And she's like, "No, I'm going to come with you immediately." So I say, "Well, I can't be dusting the monk anymore. His word will be out, and the people will be searching for me. So I will have to be Engelbert. Engelbert's just another pilgrim returning from the pilgrimage to the Holy Well." And Bess, you can be my wife now. Something that perhaps we've both always wanted, but our stations in life had made impossible. Now we can become. So I will check the skill of stealth, because it was necessary to be stealthy with our fleeing.
Very cool. Yeah, this gives a sense of the memories filling up. When we're doing it more quickly in succession here. Beautiful. 7 and a 2. Give me a second here. So 7 minus 2 is 5 more ahead. So we'll go up to 14.
14. An enemy character uses a lost resource to turn your few friends against you. Two skills to retain a resource, or that skill to barely survive. Which former friend did you kill? Where did you flee?
This is like somewhat complicated one, more so than I've seen before. So, if I'm understanding correctly, there's an enemy character which I can either create or he comes out of one of the characters who already exists. Yeah, enemy character. Uses a lost resource. Turn your few friends against you. I don't have any lost resources, but I could say then I guess I lose one then.
Right. Yeah, I think so.
So okay, there it is. So it's interesting how the story little like worms in. It's like and at first sometimes the other, let's say the intellect mind will be like, no, that's not it. But it's like, no, that's it. That's obviously it. Why else is it there?
Yeah.
That another little hint that could be useful in other endeavors in life. So anyway, so in the Bible, I had been making notes that like trying to understand my lot in life and how does this all work? This it would have made more sense among the some of the pagan gods. I could have made sense of this, like Loki or something like that. But in my Christian faith, I'm trying to understand, and I had made notes, and the collective. The So I noticed the Bible was gone. I had made all these notes in there, and not any one specific note saying what my lot in life was, but someone discerning or aware of such things, and also aware of what was going on with the cemetery. Someone who was watching could have known. And as it turned out, it was Hakon, who I trusted, the only one I really, really trusted with my life, who was my second in command. He also had a thirst to become Jarl himself. He was also jealous of Astaire following me around all the time, and upset with him because he thought that Astaire was a fake Christian who wanted to become a pagan. And he knew about my newfound aspirations to become king. So Hakon wanted to. He turned everyone against me using the Bible, showing like this something's wrong. He has an unearthly hunger, and he wants to become king. So I had to flee with Astaire and with Ingrid. Both of them do not know about but now are sort of becoming aware. What is this about? What was going on with the Bible? So I will lose the resource. I'm going to scratch that out, and then I will check a skill. And I will check the battle axe close combat because Hakon attempted to kill me in the longhouse with what he discovered with the Bible. And it was only because of my acuity for battle that I was able to grab my axe and then strike him rather savagely across the arm and chest. It cut him. He did not die, but he had to yield, and that gave me enough time to grab Ingrid. And then Astaire came running in when he heard the commotion, and took it upon himself to knock Hakon out. and then we all three fled with the horse and with the battle axe, with what we could carry. But at that point, also, the longhouse and 100 acres still exist, but those are really leave that there unchecked, but they're kind of left open right now.
Nice.
No, in fact, you know what I'll do? I'll keep the Bible. So we take the Bible from Hakon, and hoping that he hadn't told too many people about it. But we lose the longhouse and 100 acres because, of course, we're forced to flee. Hakon had told some people about it, and he turned their friends against me using the Bible. But he came with it, like, "What do you say about this?" And that's when he was attacking me. I grabbed the Bible back from him after a stare knocked him out. Couldn't bring myself to kill him, even though he had done this. Or no, wait, which former friend did you kill? Oh, okay. No, so I did kill him. Fuck, I didn't realize. It's such a deep prompt. So yeah, we killed him, and then we fled further out into the mountains, near the edge of somewhere we could hide out, but kind of near a small front line of a skirmish where I knew I'd be able to get bodies.
Cool.
You could even look on a map of, let's say, see, Holywell. There we go. Yeah, so let's say we went up to the Pennant Park Golf Club. No, no, let's say we went up to somewhere a little north and west of Holywell, like Dysert or Rudlin or Rudlin or Briniau, somewhere in that little region, up closer to the west or the west northwest.
Cool. Seven and a 6 is a 1. So that makes me 5.
So you got what? Seven and a 1. So
I
that's
got 7,
6.
7 and a 6 gets a
Oh, so 1. 1 again. So you prompt 5. So now, oh yeah, okay. So we still haven't doubled a prompt yet. Okay. Okay, prompt number 5. You murder someone you love or respect rather than let them expose you. Kill a character, check a skill. If you have no living characters, kill no one and create a beloved mortal character who you have betrayed. So you do have living characters, though.
Yeah. So as I'm fleeing with Bess across the country, posing as pilgrims returning from the well, I've now got a taste for human blood. That memory of that young monk and the feeling of his life force imbuing my body as I drained him was just too much, and I can't return to just girls anymore, despite Bess's pleading. And I realise that she's probably regretting having come with me, despite her insistence to do so. And despite her entreaties for me to resist, I continue and I train one person after another as we travel through the countryside, and our travel will become forced because of my bloodlust. We have to leave before I'm found. I knew she was, disturbed by my behaviour, but I thought all our childhood growing up and all that closeness and that love that we had for one another was strong enough that she'd stand by me. I didn't suspect that her qualms were as great as they were, but um, in the most recent village that we were at, I found someone back of a house, uh, just a child really, and I think that was the final straw for her. And I didn't notice, so caught up in the joy of feeding was I, that her face changed irrevocably, and any love that she had for me had left, and it was just horror and disgust remained in her expression. And so I didn't notice that. I didn't notice her fetching the villagers and bringing them until I dropped the child I was feeding on empty to the ground and turned to see her approaching, leading a mob of the local villagers, the parents of the child just behind her. And just before I fled, I grabbed her by the throat and strangled the life from her in a mixture of rage, sorrow, hurt, mostly a sense of loss for all that we'd had together as kids and for the friendship that was no more. Despite the villagers trying to prevent me from doing so, my unnatural strength was enough to overcome both Bess and to flee them. And I left the village alone. So yeah, the skill. I will check the skill of scavenging without Bess's help now. On my own.
And I know you have to go at noon your time. Is that sharp? Yeah.
I got a bit of flexibility, but yeah, more or less then.
Okay. Yeah, we can just kind of finish whatever memory we're on at that point, and then, or whatever thing we're on at that point, and then resume
Yep.
later on. Super fun to do it this way, man. The story develops.
Yeah.
It's equally fun doing it the way we're doing it with the letters, but it's like a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Right in the world. What's that?
You remain in the world more so, rather
this
than
one.
visiting and returning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I got 10. I was going to say 0, but there's no 0 side of it. I got a 10 and a 3. So that's 7. I'm leaping ahead here.
Yeah.
21.
21. You are trapped outside when the sun rises and take shelter someplace you're not supposed to be. A child discovers and befriends you. Create a mortal child character and record a humanizing experience.
Okay, so we are up around Briniao, I believe. Let's see what's around there. Okay, so yeah, we're out, in the woods nearby. we just started our own little farm, down where we could kind of hide out down near this Dysert area. There's a little river that's going through there, and we were out just a little bit too long one night. I was out a little bit too long one night looking for animals to feed on in lieu of any um, recently dead soldiers. The skirmish had kind of slowed down. People were on either side of the river, not fighting. So I waited and waited, assuming something would occur. And at that point, it was dawn started to break, and I realized that following the river, there was nowhere else to go. The forest wasn't deep enough to keep the sun off me. So I went to the Raider Dicer, to the waterfall, the nearby, and went underneath. You could get in underneath the waterfall behind the rocks there, and and a lot of people don't climb right into the rocks that way and go under the water in behind the waterfall. So I was just sitting in there figuring I'd wait out the rest of the day. And at this point, a little child comes walking behind, through the woods, through the water, splashing, playing, and is just totally like innocent, so innocent that it quells the sort of bloodlust that I had going on. It overwhelmed me with a sense of joy and peace, and I remembered for that moment what it was like to be a child and have such a innocent sense of curiosity and discovery. And the little boy is like, "Hey, what are you doing back here? I thought I was the only one. This is my spot," and he's just so excited to see someone else behind this waterfall. So he hangs out, and we just play around with rocks. I tell him stories about the pagan gods, but not the brutal ones, but just some fun and interesting sort of lore. And we entertain each other for the rest of the day. And then at the end of the day, he's got to go back home. But he's like, "Hey, I come behind the waterfall almost every day. So if you want to see me again, come and see me back here." And I tell him not to tell anybody of my presence, that I'm kind of like one of the pagan gods, and that I've appeared to him, just to him, because to be his new friend from the other world. And he vows to honor that as much as a young child can. And with excitement, before the sun sets, he goes back to have his dinner with his parents. And I'm amazed that I had no desire to feed off the child. So let's put this under. I'm going to put that under the one where you and I met.
So it's three memories, 3 experiences per memory, right?
Yeah, we might have kind of fudged that on the letter writing one, because I wasn't always checking to see where they fit or whatever. But I think at certain points you had lost memories and stuff. We were playing according to the spirit of the game, if not the exact rules.
Yeah. Cool. So 3 and 5. So that's -2. So
-2. So you're back to the
5. So I'm back to 3, which we've already had. So it's the second one of under 3.
Yeah, little boy behind waterfall. A second here. Waterfall. Just make it a little note. Okay, so then you go back to 3 again. That's correct? Huh?
Yeah.
-2. Yeah. Back to 3. Okay, so we haven't seen one of these doubled yet. One of these secondary things. Okay, this was related to the loved one who discovered your condition and works to help you. So this is where maybe we'll skip to a different one in the secondary, because it says you manipulate this mortal into committing atrocious deeds on your behalf. What do you do when they quail at these awful tasks? Take the skill. Humans are tools. So you can either come up with something with that, but the problem was that the person it's referring to is dead.
Mm-hmm. Shall I roll again?
You can either roll again, or we could go skip ahead to. We could check prompt number 3 and the up ahead. Whatever you want. If you want to roll again, we can stay with these
Yeah,
prompts. Yeah.
I'll roll again. Okay, now it really wants me to be doing number 3. It's I got 1 and 3, which is a -2.
Okay, well, we can skip to the third part of that prompt, which says, well, either that or you can adapt that part of the prompt to account for the skill humans are tools.
Yeah, I mean, I can manipulate another mortal, right?
Yeah. hmm So you could create a mortal if necessary.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, with my murder of Bess, there's something's kind of changed in me, and um, like she was the kind of one link back to my compassion for humanity, and so in killing her, I kind of killed that in myself, and now it's I look on like the surrounding humans as kind of cattle um, to be used, and so at the next village, there's a young lad who's clearly down on his luck. He's kind of I suppose they might have called him the village idiot back in these times. He was a little bit simple, perhaps. Made his living by begging in the middle of this village, and I'm still wearing the robes of the monastery, though it doesn't identify me as a monk, thankfully. But he somehow takes me as a holy man with my robes and my staff, and so I take advantage of this credulous, simple human, and I say, yes, I am. I am. I am a very holy man. I'm a messenger from God, come to tell you what God wants of you. And he's really excited by this. He's like, God wants something of me. I'm like, yes, he's chosen you. He's chosen you for a very important task. He's like, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? Tell me. And I say, well, he wants you to help bring me people. And he says, okay, if that's what God wants, I'll do it. And so he comes with me. I take him from the village, and his sort of naivety it makes people trust him very easily. He thinks he's doing good. He's doing God's work. So I'm able to use him to trick people into making themselves vulnerable to me so that I can feed on them more easily and more safely. I never let him see me feed because I think that might well let the cat out of the bag a bit with him. But he continues to help me, and I continue to encourage him and reassure him that he's doing God's work.
Amazing. So we've each done 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
You want to leave it at that for now?
Yeah, I think that's a good place to pause.
It's a nice pausing point. I'll roll for my next one, but just not look at it yet. So I got +3, so 24.
24.
So now we know where to start next time. So folks watching, this has been 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. It's such a beautiful book. You can kind of see it's really, really nicely done. There's like all kinds of different pictures and the prompts, and then like we've been playing it for a while privately as well, and it's like you never really get to everything. And even if you do repeat prompts, it's like totally different story. So it's an excellent book. If you're into gaming, or if you've never tried gaming, it's kind of a cool place to start. Um, there's a bunch of stuff in the back I haven't really explored yet. But yeah, by Tim Hutchings. I'm not sure where you can find the website for it. But, 1000yearoldvampire.com. Uh, yeah. So, Will, is there a time you want to set for continuing on from here?
Let's catch up about that. I'll need to
Okay.
check.
Yeah, we can do that privately. And then, folks who are watching, if you want to watch us continue with the game where we left off here, then I will make as soon as we come up with a schedule, I'll make the announcement on YouTube, and then you guys can subscribe and click to be notified when we go live again. Super fun, Will. Really, that's like the time went by pretty fast. The let's say it's not grueling, but the getting the engine going, it feels like that was the layout, right? Like the defining the characters, and it's like you kind of it's like opening a mine or something. I don't know. There's like a little bit of work involved in starting that maybe could be tedious. I don't experience it as tedious, but it's like there's more effort to get the ball rolling, to get the
Hmm.
engine started. At least for me. How about you?
Yeah, it's kind of like you need to create the portal and build its perimeter firmly, and then once the conduit's open, then stuff can flow through it more easily.
Yeah, it's totally fascinating, and I get a real sense of the world. And if you're doing this on your own, I think we've discussed also the possibility of using the letters that we're writing as putting that into a book. I think that would make a great elaborating on it and all that, making a book or a series or a script or something like that. It could be a useful thing for somebody who wants to write and who likes vampires. You kind of can utilize the game and then get these prompts and create a book relatively easy out of that. And there's nobody stopping you from doing it however you want. You don't have to have limited memory. You could account for that some way in the story. You could, um, but a really fun game, definitely. I'm really delighted with it. It's unique among game books.
Yeah, yeah, good fun.
Well, thanks, man. That's really cool. It's fun doing it live here. I forgot after a while that we were streaming, but it looked like a few different people watching from time to time. So
So,
anybody who's watching or watching it later, leave some comments. Let us know what your experience is. Did you see the world that we're playing in? Do you? What is it like to you? Anything else before we go?
yeah, experiment. Yeah, I mean this is an instance of um, some like of a method or a technique which can be used for all sorts of purposes in all sorts of ways. Um, so might be fun for people to uh, allow that to kind of become extrapolated for themselves from within. Uh, and maybe something might arise for them about how this tool could be of use in their own lives.
Excellent point. Yeah, there's a lot of little bits and pieces people could pull from this, and I think the discerning among you could identify something that's, let's say, exemplified by the structure of that particular game, but it's not. Necessary to have that structure to use what the technique that we're referring to, let's say.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if people have heard of the author called Ursula Le Guin. She wrote various fantasy and sci-fi type stories. She wrote Wizard of Earthsea, among others. And she was interviewed uh, some years after she wrote I think the fourth book that's set in this world, Earthsea. And she was asked by the interviewer, "Will you write more stories about Earthsea?" And she said, "I don't know if I will visit there again." So I think that's an interesting response and has relevance to what we've been doing.
Yeah, that's referred to as a distinct location. There's an interview with Clive Barker. I forget the actual book series he was referring to. He was talking about he discovered it through painting, through doing paintings. So the book series, what was that called? It was Abarat, 2002, and it's the first in a series. Young adult fantasy novels written and illustrated by English writer and visual artist, who's actually a filmmaker as well, Clive Barker. Um, he published 3 out of the supposed 5 that were he started becoming aware of. But he was just painting, and he just couldn't stop painting. He said he would just stay up all the time and just paint and paint and paint. And then he started to do, the paintings were just surrounding him in his studio. And then he discerned like a whole world from which those characters and settings and landscapes were coming from, and then wrote 3 out of the 5 books in a series that take place in that world. But it arrived to him through focusing on painting. He describes it in the interview too as a completely distinct and fully formed place that he was just getting a window into. Not that he was inventing it. He never claimed to be inventing it at all.
Yeah, and it's that distinction is an interesting one, particularly if you flip it and apply it to what we consider our normal waking life. Is there any empirical test that we could do to determine whether what's occurring is discovery or creation? If, depending on what your answer to that is, when you give it a go, what implications does that have for the way that you live your life?
Yeah, that's a great question and a great leaping off point. So if you have any ideas or responses to those questions too, leave those in the comments. That would be interesting to hear from people what they're taking from this and what they might test.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever invented actually anything at all. It's like I can turn the mind toward doing like some math problems. You know what I mean? Dealing with stuff that already exists. But I don't know if I've ever actually invented.
Well, it reminds me of the question of what would it be like to have a truly original thought.
Uh-huh.
And that can be an interesting question to explore. You know, seek out whether anything has or could genuinely arise from and through you. To what degree is everything that you've done a reaction to a reaction to a reaction that could be modeled as robotic? To what degree are there elements which don't fall into that could be seen or that could be shown to be truly originating from you? And what does it feel like? What's the distinction in the body? How can you tell one from the other?
Nice long questions to leave open-ended, to leave open as an exploration. All right. With that, I guess our work here is done for today. So this is to be continued, folks. We will dive right back into that world again, if the Lord is willing and the internet persists. And if not, then maybe you could find Will and I at some amphitheater with notebooks, continuing the story somewhere in Northwest Wales. It's not beyond the realm of possibility. All right. Super fun, man. Yeah. World surfing. Beautiful time. I'll talk to you again soon. All right, folks. See you later. Enjoy.